Hello, beautiful light being. As always, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Emily the Mystic, and if you are here, you are definitely a curious, inquiring soul who is wanting to learn more about the ancient civilization of Atlantis. Well, I'm so glad you're here to take this wildly cosmic, sort of in a way, journey with me to learn more about this incredible ancient civilization that did exist on planet Earth. Yes, there I said it. Ancient Atlantis did exist, and I can't wait to share with you what I have channeled about this incredible ancient civilization. And as always, with channeled information, take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. So, of course, I've learned a lot about ancient Atlantis throughout my time becoming a spiritual healer, a spiritual leader, and practitioner. But I wanted to sit down and actually consciously channel through the akashic records what the guides wanted you to know about the ancient civilization. And so it was interesting because I took a lot of notes and I compared and contrasted what was coming through to some of the other information that I had read about, learned about before. I wish I could give credit to all of these different sources because there's so much out there and I can't remember where everything has come from, of course. But I'm going to share with you what I channeled today. And yeah, some of it may resonate with you based on what you've read out there on the internet or in books. There's a lot of information out there, and some of it may be different from what you've heard before. So take everything, of course, with a grain of salt because it is channeled. But I hope that this will give you a new perspective and will just help you to sort of open your eyes to ancient Atlantis and why it's very closely paralleling with what's going on here on Earth at this very moment in time in 2022 and over the last couple of years. So without further ado, let's get into it. So ancient Atlantis was an ancient civilization that did physically exist here on planet Earth. Of course, we live in a multi-dimensional universe of all different spaces and times where everything is existing simultaneously all at once. That is quantum physics right there in a nutshell. And so, yes, ancient Atlantis is still existing in another space and time because it is existing parallel to us here physically on Earth at this moment, just like your past lives are all occurring simultaneously with this present timeline that you're in this now moment. So yes, ancient Atlantis still is existing in a way. And so that's how we're able to connect to different energies and different guides who are really connected to the wisdom and the energy of ancient Atlantis multidimensionally, right? So let's start from the very beginning. How did ancient Atlantis come to be created? And so what were some of the starting points? So you're going to see me referring to my notes because I took a lot of notes when I was channeling and I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So the intention for Atlantis when it was created was for this civilization to be a perfect utopia here on planet Earth. So if you're not aware, planet Earth is actually a little bit of an experiment. It's a bit of an experimental planet. If you have watched my starseed videos, make sure you go back and watch those because this may make a lot more sense. But most of us, not most of us, but if you're watching this video, you're going to resonate with this topic. Your soul incarnated somewhere else other than on planet Earth. So in another space, in another time, in another galaxy, another star system far, far away. And those ancient star systems, which if we're thinking in terms of linear time, again, this is getting a little bit confusing because everything is happening simultaneously all at once. But those ancient star systems occurred before ancient Atlantis was physically created here on planet Earth. All of those star systems were part of the original, what some people call the Big Bang, but what I refer to as when Source decided that it wanted to become conscious, and Source frequency began to split into different energies, different souls. That's how all of the star systems were originally created, when God split off into all of these different spaces and times, these different realities, these different galaxies, star systems, planets, etc. So planet Earth was created amongst all of them, and planet Earth having the perfect conditions for for human-like beings, or for beings to possess, I should say, a physical body, Earth was picked out amongst all of these different planets in our universe for being a planet to sustain physical life. There are so many multi-dimensional beings out there in the universe who, and you've existed in an incarnation in a multi-dimensional body where you didn't have a physical body. So there are so many multidimensional beings out there who wanted to experience what it would be like to have a physical body. And so Earth was picked out as the perfect place, the perfect opportunity to support that. And the consciousness of Mother Gaia, Mama Gaia, Mother Nature gave her permission for that to take place. And so Ancient Atlantis and its sister civilization, Ancient Lemuria, were created approximately around the same time. Ancient Lemuria was created first, from what I have channeled, but they were created as the perfect opportunity to be the home base for physical life to exist. And so that's where it really all began, from what is coming through for me. So Atlantis was meant to be this perfect utopia here on Earth. So with that in mind, these star beings who wanted to create this civilization to support physical life, they also wanted to infuse in different elements from their own home planets and star systems. So things such as the type of technology that they knew and loved, or the type of energy frequencies that they were used to. So Atlantis was meant to be this perfect combination of what it meant to have a physical body here on Earth, as well as what it meant to have all of these different types of elements coming from the star systems, all of these different elements of energy frequencies from different star systems that could be a perfect fused combination of both. So the guides said that Atlantis was meant to be a place where physical pleasure and external beauty could be admired, while the inward depths of the human soul could be realized and experienced at the same time. So there was an emphasis on in Atlantis, the original intention was for those physical human beings to experience physical pleasure in the form of beautiful things on Earth, beautiful natural landforms, beautiful things to look at, beautiful cities to be created, and just beauty to be admired in general. But also at the same time, not just focusing on the external aspects of all of that. Atlantis intentionally was created for human-like souls to be able to go inwards and to be able to realize who they were at a soul level. So this is kind of sounding like what we're supposed to be experiencing here on Earth at this moment, right? Very interesting. So I'm just looking at my notes here. Atlantis grew into a very high-tech, high-functional, high-intensity civilization. According to the guides, it was one of the most technologically advanced civilizations in the universe. And it was a very fast-moving civilization. Things moved really, really quickly. So if you can imagine this from an energy frequency point of view, it's very divine masculine. It's very focused on ambition, success, drive, fame, fortune, wealth, pleasure, all of those things. So the culture was very externally focused. It was very focused on, fast satisfaction. That's not what I want to say. On instant gratification. It was very much a civilization focused on instant gratification. The guides also said that women, I thought this was interesting, women were very much exploited in ancient Atlantis, and were looked upon for the beauty of their physical bodies and not for their consciousness and the beauty of their soul. It's all sounding very familiar. So the intention for Atlantis was that this was going to be a place where we could really be inwardly focused on spirituality, inwardly focused on our beliefs, and also outwardly focused on the cool aspects of technology that we knew from other star systems, the aspects of living in a really beautiful utopia-like happy place. So all of this sounds pretty good, right? It sounds pretty ideal. Other than some of the things that I've mentioned around women, of course, being exploited, and fame and fortune and wealth, and sort of being used and abused. That's sort of the negative, the dark aspect, the shadow aspect of all of this that I'm alluding to and getting to in a moment here. So those who wanted to, those on the civilization of Ancient Atlantis who wanted to see the civilization succeed found a lot of fame and fortune. They became great power players, great leaders. However, eventually, the civilization grew to be a point to where everyone was focused on self, service to self. What can I do that's going to be of benefit to me? Me. It's all about me. When the original intention for Atlantis was to be, this is a beautiful collective. We're going to experience spirituality inwardly. We're going to be able to experience the beautiful landforms here on planet Earth, the beautiful water, all of those things. However, power players began to take control, and there was a lot of dark energy that was not created, but a lot of dark energy the vibration of the civilization began to become very dark, very heavy, very intense. So, and the other really interesting thing too that came through was that the Atlanteans were really focused on spirituality as a means to an end, and a focus on the self as a means to an end. So a means to receive, a means to get things, to take things, versus as a way to help oneself, to be able to help others, to be able to help humanity, to be able to uplift the consciousness of the collective as a whole, which was what the intention was. So things began to move out of control. Power plays happened, conflicts happened. It definitely feels, from what I can tell, that there were physical conflicts, meaning battles of some sort. And the civilization, I should say, was full of suffering. It grew to be a very dark place to be and to live. And it was not the utopia that the original creators, the founders, had once intended. And so all of these people, all of these souls who existed on Ancient Atlantis forgot what it meant to love Mother Earth, to take care of Mother Earth like the founders originally intended. They began to disrespect Mother Earth, the planet as a whole, and their civilization. And all of this began to lead to the fall of Atlantis. So no longer are we focusing on the greater good of the collective. We're focusing on self for instant gratification. No longer are we enjoying the physical, external pleasures of reality as a way to enjoy the richness of Mother Earth. Instead, we are using them as a means to an end. No longer are we using religion as a way to better self in order to better help others, in order to expand consciousness. Again, it's a means to an end, to achieve and to receive. And so, what I am being shown about the fall of Atlantis was that there were great floods that wiped away and washed away the entire civilization. So how did the great floods happen? That's a big question that I have, so I was really excited to channel this, because some people say that the gods or God got angry at the civilization, decided it shouldn't exist anymore, so it was wiped away. And other people will say that Atlantis destroyed itself because there were constant battles and constant fights. For me, what came through is that it's a sort of a combination of both. So because the energy frequency of Atlantis became so low, the vibration became so dense, so 3D, to a point of destruction, the vibration of all of the people on the planet was to a point where it attracted this natural circumstance in the form of the floods to take place. And because, as you know, that we are all extensions of divine source energy, so we all have God within us, because we became such a low vibrational frequency, we meaning the people of Atlantis, we basically attracted this physical disruption in the form of a flood to take place. And that may have happened because we were also disrespecting Mother Earth. We were not taking care of our planet, of our home, of the civilization that we lived in, and we destroyed the civilization. And so therefore that created some sort of cataclysmic event, perhaps in the form of tectonic plates moving that created a tsunami, perhaps in the form of some other sort of weather type event that caused the great flooding. So for me, it's the vibration, the frequency grew to be so low, so service to self versus service to others, to the point where we attracted, unfortunately unconsciously, this horrible physical event to take place. And it's really interesting because there were, at the time, as Ancient Atlantis began to go downhill, there were a lot of philosophers, priests and priestesses, channelers, oracles, and fortune tellers who knew that the end of times were coming, that there were going to be great floods or some form of physical disaster that was going to wipe out the civilization. So there were a lot of people who were predicting it, and it's really interesting because Ancient Atlantis, for me, comes up in a lot of my akashic records readings. A lot of my clients, so first of all, backing up a little bit, as if you resonate with being an old soul, most likely you have had lifetimes in Ancient Atlantis, Ancient Lemuria, or both. I'm getting to Ancient Lemuria in a separate video. But if you've had lifetimes in Ancient Atlantis, you resonate with being an old soul, you most likely were there. And so getting to my point here, you most likely had some lifetimes in Ancient Atlantis if you're watching this video. That's my point. But when it comes through for me with clients, they actually carry some subtle energies in their energy field in their akashic records around feeling guilty for not helping Ancient Atlantis before the fall, for not doing what they could to help out more when they knew at the time in that past lifetime that Ancient Atlantis was going to be destroyed, that Ancient Atlantis was going to fall. And they may also carry survivor's guilt. There were some beings who did survive Ancient Atlantis and who were able to move on and start new civilizations in the form of some of the ancient civilizations that are recorded in our history books. So you may be one of those people as well who survived, so you may carry some survivor's guilt around actually making it out of the floods alive. But as you can see from everything that I have shared, it is very obvious that Ancient Atlantis closely mirrors and parallels what is going on here on planet Earth at this very moment in time. However, we're reaching a crossroads and we're coming to a turning point. Thank goodness to the awakening of a lot of souls on this planet, where the consciousness and the frequency of Earth is increasing instead of decreasing like it did during the time of Ancient Atlantis. So here, we're on the up and up. We're here to move on. We're here to move into that golden age that has been prophesized or has been forecasted. So if we keep moving in this direction, Ancient Atlantis, that fall, the floods that wiped away the civilization, it's not going to happen again. But still, there's a lot of healing to do there if you have, knowingly or unknowingly, experienced a lifetime in Ancient Atlantis. Perhaps you were there and you did know that the flood was coming. You were a channeler or a fortune teller, but nobody would listen to you. And you were disrespected because everybody else wanted to focus on the good aspects of Atlantis, and they didn't want to hear the bad things. So maybe you're carrying some shame and some resentment around all of that. Or maybe you're just carrying heartbreak and loss from being swept away during the floods. I personally have dealt with a very physical fear of deep water for a long time, which was coming from my past lifetimes in Atlantis. And I say lifetimes because Atlantis existed for a long time. I can't put a number on it, but Atlantis existed to the point where many of us have had multiple incarnations there. So that's hundreds, if not thousands of years. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of place and space. That's a lot of space for evolution. And unfortunately, that version of the Earth experiment went wrong and did not go well. So maybe you're in need of some healing when it comes to talking about Ancient Atlantis, especially if you feel like your ears are really perking up hearing this information. You're like, wow, this is really interesting. This really resonates with me. I want to learn more. I definitely encourage you to read more about it, because there may be some healing there for you to do, and there may be some energy there in your field that needs to be released around your experiences there, because there are so many different things. I even did a reading for someone at one point who was a power player during Ancient Atlantis, and they really didn't realize how much their actions were leading to the fall of Atlantis until the very end. And they were carrying a lot of guilt and shame around that in this lifetime. So very interesting, very, very, very interesting. But that is my little debrief all about the energy of Ancient Atlantis. Upcoming next is my video on Ancient Lemuria, which is the sister city to Ancient Atlantis. So if you want to leave this video just with some of the overall themes here, Ancient Atlantis it existed in the Atlantic Ocean. It was a very divine masculine energy focused city. The intention was this perfect utopia, this perfect balance of spirituality, external beauty, working with Mother Nature, and technology and success and ambition. However, instead of becoming this beautiful utopia city like the founders intentioned it to be, it ended up becoming a city and a civilization very much focused on excess, on swinging the pendulum too far in the other direction and becoming power hungry, and focusing on service to self versus service to others and instant gratification. So I hope that brought you a lot of insight. And if you feel called to do some healing on your journey surrounding Ancient Atlantis, make sure you check out my offerings. The link should be below so you can schedule a reading with me, and we can dive in deep into your akashic records to see what your role was during the Atlantean times, so we can release and heal some energy around that. So I'm sending you so much love. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what resonated with you, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Sending love for a beautiful day.